Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. First, if we could, we'd like to have a moment of silence to acknowledge our collective grieving and anger and our support of each other. Okay, thank you for joining us for Reading the City, Compton, and the Literary Imagination. My name is Rosalind McGarry. I'm creative director of Sepia. We're an arts organization based here in Compton, California. Sepia is currently working in partnership with Mayor Asia Brown and other city leadership on our Compton Arts Project, which is a series of panels, workshops, and public art activations that center Compton and South LA artists and that seeks to highlight Compton's cultural impact. Reading the City is the first endeavor of the Compton Arts Project and the first of a series of roundtables featuring artists of different disciplines with connections to Compton and South LA. For more information about Sepia and to purchase books of the poets joining us here today, click the button below. Also, feel free to push the Ask a Question button below. We'll try to get the questions answered in the last 15 minutes or so of the program. Today, three powerful poets have joined us for a conversation about their work and their city. Robin Coss Lewis is the Poet Laureate of Los Angeles and writer in residence at the University of Southern California. Her poetry debut, Voyage of the Sable Venus, was honored with the 2015 National Book Award for Poetry, the first debut to win in poetry by an African American. Lewis is a Cave Canem Fellow, a Fellow of the Los Angeles Institute for the Humanities, and a Ford Foundation Art of Change Fellow. She received her MFA in poetry from NYU, an MTS in Sanskrit and Comparative Religious Literature from Harvard University's Divinity School, and a PhD in Poetry and Visual Studies from USC. Currently, she is a writer in residence at USC. Lewis was born in Compton, California. Her family is from New Orleans. Born and raised in Compton, California, Ahmad Jamal Johnson is the author of three poetry collections, Imperial Liquor, Darktown Follies, and Red Summer. Educated at El Camino College, Howard University, and Cornell University, he is a former Wallace Stegner Fellow in Poetry at Stanford. Currently, he is the Halls Bascom Professor of English at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, where he directs the MFA program in creative writing. Janice Miller is a Black Panamanian urban planner and writer from Compton and Watts. She is a Pushcart nominated poet and Voices of Our Nation Arts alumna. She received her BA in Black Studies and Sociology from UC Santa Barbara and an MA in Urban Planning from UCLA. Miller is the author of poetry chapbook, The Boulevard, and has published work in KCET Artbound, Boom California, Cultural Weekly, Dryland Literary Journal, and the Acentos Review. She lives in Compton with her family, and she is co-producer of this event. You can find longer bios on our Instagram page at Sepia Collective. Thank you, three, for being here again. Janice, would you like to start us off with a reading of some of your work?
Of course. It's an honor, of course, to be here representing Compton, the CPT, with all of you. Um, so I'm going to start with a couple of poems. I'm going to read a couple of brief poems inspired by my experiences growing up here in Compton. The first one is after a poem by Nikki Giovanni called Knoxville, Tennessee. And that poem, she reflects on what summertime was for her growing up in the place that she grew up. And this poem is similar. It's after that poem, and it's called The Boulevard, Compton. I always liked summer best. Water balloon fights and getting wet under a garden hose. You could run with your bare feet on the cool, wet concrete and be sticky sweet from thrifty ice cream or an icy melting down your arm. And mommy's cooking platanos and rice and peas and chicken curry, listening to salsa and R&B. You could dry off in the sun shining on the stone studded steps, and eat lemon heads and now laters and barbecue corn nuts and policies with a little bit of vinegar in it until one by one, mamas call you all inside and your names make the streetlights come on. Thank you. This next poem is called Dolphins, and a lot of folks, are familiar with Compton through its music. And this was inspired by a particular rapper that impressed me kind of a little bit more than some other folks. Dolphins. Yolanda Yo-Yo Whitaker whipped crimped blonde braids and bragged. The earrings I wear are called dolphins, and I became bigger, bigger than my block, bigger than my neon green and black biker shorts that copped from the swap meet, where airbrushed tees, corduroys, and rows of gold were sold, like the dolphin earrings my father bought. Four gold dolphins, connected two by two at the nose, and I was wrapped by these shining creatures, swimming toward each other, bouncing daily from the earlobes that foretold my skin tone from birth. And Yo Yo grew like me from streets of